Galaxias Chapter 24 is officially out, and in all honesty, it has been well over 2 weeks since Chapter 23. The manga was supposed to come out last week, but there was a complication, so it ended up being released a week later. The mangaka apologized for that, but we did get a relatively good chapter. We got to see what was going on with Kerner and Schmidt during that whole altercation between Antares and neraid was going on, and we get to see what's going on with Jio and potentially setting up for our whole big, most likely a rescue arc for Jio in the future. So I'm excited to get into that. But before we jump right into the chapter, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make on the channel and shows you want to see more. Now let's just jump right into this chapter. So chapter 24 of Galaxias, titled My Fault. With the chapter taking us right after the fight with neraid and Antares ended, with the entire area collapsing, as we cut to everybody and specific pieces of rubble being held up by Kerner's webs, which honestly really cool. I love this. This is a really cool panel showcasing that Kerner actually managed to save her group from like falling down to the deepest depths, if I can say that. And this looks really damn cool, and Kerner still looks fantastic. I will simp over this woman any day of the week. But Antares ends up asking her why she was late, as Kerner apologizes and says that she made a mistake, as we cut back to her altercation when she found Schmidt, essentially confirming that that is Schmidt, and Schmidt trying to kind of play dumb, being like, oh, one of the royal zodiacs ends up knowing who I am. That's really interesting. But she ends up saying that a bit more about Schmidt, saying that he infiltrated the Knighthood's Intelligence Bureau and stole classified information materials. And she's trying to tell Schmidt, please don't pretend that you have no idea what's going on or that you forgot about it, with Schmidt just smiling, saying, I just protested the administration's information control as a representative of the masses. Knowledge should be open to everybody. And that was 4 years ago. Can't we just let it be? Water under the bridge. Hey look at these pretty mushrooms. Ha, they've gotten so big. Honestly, I really like after he's trying to be all nonchalant about this. We get one image of Kerner's eyes, and the way her eyes are drawn, it's almost like she has an eye ability. But I know this is just a design choice, but it looks so damn cool and intimidating. But Schmidt just puts his hands up in the air, saying, yeah, I understand. As Kerner goes on to say, enough with the jokes. You possess no lofty ideals. As Schmidt goes on to say that Yorihol's final challenge was to explain the dragon source, and that somewhere in this country a man named neraid exists who holds the key to that mystery. A story that interesting is irresistible to me. And Kerner ends up confirming that that was Schmidt's aim all along. We knew this because neraid is tied to Yori and his research somehow, and this ties into the dragon source of this country. So that is still a big thing. So we also know that he essentially was also stealing information and research materials from the dragon government. So that is interesting to note. Schmidt goes on to say that, oddly enough, we seem to have found him at about the same time, but those details don't matter now. So I'm about to be killed, aren't I? As I like that we end up seeing Kerner use her webs, as she creates something from her hands, as she says, of course, I cannot allow any who would cause Mistress Antares to lose face to live. As Schmidt annoyingly says, there it is, it's all about saving face. If you kill someone every time you get a little embarrassed, you'll wipe out humanity in no time. How about you grow thicker skin? And this is something that Antares kind of brought up in terms of saving face for the government and the kingdom in and of itself after the death of their king. Kerner obviously is doing this partially for Antares' sake and reputation as a member of the Royal Zodiac to help keep it upholded. But I like that Schmidt kind of brings up the fact that if something happens that they don't like and they keep trying to get rid of it, they're gonna run into some problems down the road. That could end up being seen as a type of commentary, but for all we know, it could just be service level stuff at the moment, but I don't think this is there for nothing. Kerner goes on to say, it is the duty of those who stand above. A childish, petty thief with no responsibilities has no right to lecture me, which kind of bugs Schmidt. But Kerner ends up saying that Schmidt, again reminding us that he's also on the government's elimination list. And so she has no reason to let a murderer run free, which is a key piece of information that we did not know. As for all right now, just like with Yuri Holst, Schmidt seems to be a murderer. But what does this mean? Did he actually kill somebody? Was he framed seemingly like what might be the case with Yuri Holst? Or was it some botched job and he got blamed for it? We don't know. We still have a lot of mystery in terms of Schmidt, and even if we do get an explanation from him, we still don't know if it's going to be the truth 100%. So that just goes hand in hand with Schmidt as a character. But Schmidt, he ends up getting kind of, annoyed, but starts talking again, saying, sounds like things are heating up over there due to the fact that they feel the shockwaves of the fight with Antares and Neraid as it's going on. As Schmidt goes on to say, we can't just take our time, with Kerner saying, I will not let you leave, revealing a veil of webbing thread that she created and is putting it around Schmidt so she can entrap him, saying that this veil is a light yet powerful adhesive thread. Once it attaches to you, it is impossible to cut or remove. You are already inside my web. With Schmidt being kind of impressed that this is the power of the fabled spider dragon knight, saying it's beautiful. But he then goes on to say that it's truly fascinating. Just what is this thread made of? Kind of taking Kerner by surprise, as we then get a whole slew of thoughts of him asking so many questions about Kerner's ability, how she generates thread, is it similar to a actual spider, how will that replace your organs, etc, etc. Also, we get an image of Kerner, and once more, loving this design. Look, there are preferences I have, it's gonna show. But then we get a very ominous look of Schmidt as he just looks straight at Kerner, definitely getting under her skin and kind of making her uncomfortable. As he would say, I would love to thoroughly investigate every nook and cranny of you. Which definitely makes her angry, as she says that he's despicable, and to retract that statement and apologize at once. Obviously, Schmidt knows what he was doing. Obviously, he then says that he's sorry, but I'm the type that if something gets me curious, I can't stop thinking about it. 100%. So he's taking his own curiosity and using it as a weapon to make Kerner uncomfortable. He knew what he was saying in that instance. Was definitely going to make Kerner uncomfortable and use that as a distraction. Because as we see later on, as Kerner says, if you want to resist, now's the time. But Kerner then tries to encase Schmidt in the webbing around him, but then an explosion occurs. And she's wondering what happened. Did he hide an explosive under his clothing? But the explosion also tore up her thread, which is something that shocked her. But Schmidt appears above her, as he says, it's too bad. I'll have to investigate later. You're very enticing, but right now I have someone even more fascinating. As he runs away, Kerner tries to go after him, but Schmidt says, please watch your step. You're going to waste all these pretty mushrooms. As we see that the mushrooms that Schmidt was talking about was actually a bunch of bombs that he left planted in the ground and just made look like mushrooms with his illusions. As this scares the ever-loving crap out of Kerner as she's right in front of, in point-blank range of all of these multiple grenades, seemingly. As she realizes, oh, he tricked me. He already planted these bombs and made them look like mushrooms. As the bombs then go off, we then cut to the present. As Kerner says, the bombs were just flash grenades, so she managed to protect her eyes, but it seems to kind of burst her right eardrum, so definitely threw off her senses and kind of definitely ended up doing some sort of damage to her, and so she apologizes for failing her mission. But Antares says, no matter, it just means that man is even more cunning than we imagined, and says that Kerner's safety is all that matters, as Kerner is just ever so appreciative of the concern that her superior officer is giving to her, while Jio'S is basically telling Antares that she's being way too easy on Kerner. As we then look over to an unconscious Jio, who is on a piece of rubble. As Antares just says, we achieved our most pressing objective. As we cut back to the present, with Antares staring down Jio while they're being transported. Jio asks where they are, and it's revealed that they're in a transport train that's being taken to the Dragon Kingdom government, most likely the capital, so Jio can be judged. And until preparations are complete, Jio is going to be in Antares' custody for about a week at most. But Jio is just kind of dumbfounded right now, confusing Antares, with Jio just being surprised that she asked Antares what's going on, where they are, and she actually answered honestly, with Antares showing that she is pretty straight-laced and honest, because she says naturally it's the right of a criminal to know how they will be treated. If you think of us as kidnappers or thieves, you are severely mistaken. You are the villain here. Which Jio just says, the villain, huh? I'm gonna die. As Antares says, undoubtedly. Once you betray the world, there is no turning back. Some have thought to use you as a hostage to get the king killer to appear, but it would lead to the same end. As Jio just says, gotcha. As she then curls up her fist, as she is beginning to cry. And this one panel of Jio breaking down, saying, I did something stupid and got neraid killed, saying, I'm sorry over and over again as she can't stop the tears, just absolutely breaks my heart, as she has no idea how to feel in this instance. It is a heartbreaking panel. This is probably going to be the thumbnail by the time this video comes out, but holy hell, the emotion in this one image is a lot. As Jio, thinking that she killed neraid in that instance by, getting in the way and not running away because she didn't want to be a burden, but ended up getting in the way, unfortunately. She doesn't know that neraid is probably alive, and so thinking that she killed basically her only real friend and someone that helped her to go out and chase her dreams, she's now being taken to be put to death for something that she has no involvement in, due to the fact that she is the child of someone that has killed the ruler of the kingdom. So a lot's going through her head, and definitely breaking down in tears. That is a lot, as Antares just stares down at her. But then she hears something and goes to the outside of the train, meeting Kerner and Jio'S. As it's revealed that they went to the bottom of the valley to look for the corpses of Schmidt and neraid, assuming that they died in the fall of the canyon, but they weren't there, no trace of them whatsoever. And Kerner just says, with that fact, both of them are still alive. Antares says, I see. Kerner apologizes again for underestimating the enemy, but Antares says, enough. Take over the next watch. I could use some fresh air. As Antares thinks back to that very last moment of neraid going to punch her after she severed his left arm, right as it stopped right in front of her and didn't connect, she fully 100% admits in her head she underestimated neraid, as the final panel of that one page is just a monstrous look on neraid's face, encased in all shadowy silhouette. That look in his eyes is of an uncaged animal. And if neraid did not get his arm cut off or still had some fight left in him, that would have been a beast unleashed. Holy hell. But we then cut to the end of the chapter, with neraid waking up in a bed, getting up, being greeted by Schmidt, telling him good morning. Well, maybe it's a bit too early to say that, as Schmidt looks understandably exhausted, as the chapter has come to its end. Oh boy, that was a good chapter. I love that we got a bit more of this group with Antares and Kerner. I like that we saw what happened with Kerner and Schmidt, and showcases they didn't really have a fight. It was just Schmidt outsmarting Kerner and just buying time with his illusions and just talking to her and getting under her skin to literally plant bombs to just making a quick escape, which I'm really glad for. Even though I wish there was a fight, this does make sense for Schmidt as a character, and that seems to be his go-to method when encountering a powerful enemy. And now we also have Antares realizing just how powerful neraid is, and how she underestimated him, and how close she was to basically fighting an unprecedented monster with those final pages. And Jio just breaking down in tears. That breaks my goddamn heart. And I'm curious to see how this is going to play out in the future, because now we have to see what's going to happen with neraid and Schmidt. Is neraid going to have no left arm going forward in the series? Will they have to adjust? How will they go and rescue Jio, because we have a time frame. They have at most a week before Jio leaves Antares' area and goes off to be executed. So there's a lot to really consider here for Galaxias going forward. I am really excited to see what happens next, but what do you guys feel about this chapter? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys want to see more. Oh boy, this was another good chapter. I cannot wait for the next one. And with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.